Check. Check. All right. Sounds good. We're live.
Silver Rider, that last one. On next, I got Gareth and more artists along those lines.
Only a fool thinks he can lasso the wind. Sucker out a pack in her bags. Or he might put out a flame and it's still flickering. Yeah, I know better than that. You're a rebel on the run, smoking like a gun. No, you need a little space. It
Big old raid from Next Level Painting. What's up, dude? Thanks for that raid, Kenny. Welcome in, everybody. Currently working on my Wazdakka Gutsmek. There he is. Thanks again for that raid, Kenny. Yep, dude, gotta paint it red. Gotta paint it red. You go faster. I don't know. We had some people follow earlier. Maybe try a refresh. Just basing out these armor panels. Some burnt red and real thin. Trying to be real careful because I don't want to get paint on a lot of these metallic components because I've got this really cool orc metal workup that we're doing with all our orc stuff. Really kind of lock in that gritty Mad Max style rusted out stuff that the orcs are known for. Yeah, Wazdakka has just been like a super solid unit in almost every orc list since he was launched. He's just very, very useful. And I mean, his model is like mega cool. I think he's like the coolest orc model that GW's ever made. Yeah. You gotta kind of be in the fandom to know about the red ones go faster. When I was at Comic-Con last weekend, Weta Workshop had a big booth there with all of their super cool statues and stuff, and they had a bunch of 40k statues. I think like all the 40k ones have been shown off before. I didn't see any like new 40k stuff. But it was still cool to see like their whole line in person. Here's the follow. Thanks for that follow, Rush. Appreciate you. So I want this to get really, really good and dry because we're going to have to do some lip blending on top of it. So I'm going to let that red like totally set up. Oh, I did not bring any water. Let me go get some water. I would say what color to prime in. Kind of depends on the project. Typically, I prime everything black, with some exceptions. If I'm going to paint something that is going to be a very, very bright color, let's say, for example, White Scars Space Marines, or like a Stormtrooper from Star Wars, if you're not into 40k, those are going to end up being like an off-white. And so I would probably prime those in a mid-tone gray or even a dark gray rather than full black. And then for this orc project, I'm doing something very specific with how I do all the metals. And because that's kind of a involved process, it's harder to do by hand for small components later. I start off with that since like even something like these guys, which are going to be like Ludas or Flash Kits, they have a lot of armor on. They have all these mechanical things. They have these big old honking guns. So I'm starting off with a red oxide primer, and then I put the liquid pigment on top of that. But I mean, like for a regular orc boy or something like this, just prime it black. I did see him. I wasn't like within arm's reach, but I did see. I was like, oh, that's like X Factor, or not X Factor. That's like X Force Deadpool over there. That's cool. Um, Typically when stuff like that happens, those people they kind of just like walk a route and then they're done. It takes like maybe 20-30 minutes. They're never like really stopped anywhere. And they have some attendants that sort of like follow them around to sort of like usher people and like keep things moving. So you know, it was cool when he did that, but I didn't get to like stop and take a picture with it. I just saw out the corner of my eye. Yeah, sometimes paint is a thing. Just all depends. I mean, like also your process. For example, the main body of Wazdakka, I primed it black because I wanted the super dark base to build off of, so I have contrast built in, so our greens are like really rich. Goes from super dark to really vibrant. Lummox, thanks for that follow. Oh yeah, so I mean, if you did not see the podcast yesterday, crazy story about uh excuse me, about Comic Con. So uh I kind of like stumble fucked my way into Hall H, and I got to see the Marvel panel, which is really cool. So for those of people who don't know, like Hall H is the mega huge hall where all like the big prestige level panels are held at Comic Con, and people wait in line outside for like 3 days just to get a spot because it's first come first serve. And so on Saturday, uh, we kind of got all of our stuff done before, um, I don't know, before like 2 or 3. I think it was about 2 o'clock. And so my friend and I were up on the second floor, and we had to drop something off for his lady. And it was kind of like at the very end of this really long hallway, where all these meeting halls were on the second floor. And so rather than go all the way back the other way to the elevator, there's an elevator like right there, and so we just rolled up to it, and there was like no usher, no security, nothing. Just like nondescript, regular ass elevator that nobody was using. And so we just rolled up, pressed the button, got in, went down, and it spit us out inside of the Hall H quarantine zone. So like Hall H is like at the end of the building, and it's like cordoned off. Like you can't walk into it from outside. You can't walk into it from the con unless you go through this checkpoint where you have to have a pass that you get by waiting in line. Um, and so my buddy who'd been going there for many years, he was like, "Oh, uh, be cool, act like you own the place." And I'm like, "Okay." And so we kind of like just walk in there, and they're ushering people like in and out. There's also a concession area, so it's very busy foot traffic. And anytime you go to a panel and you need to leave, they offer you like a bathroom pass so that you can like leave the panel, or leave this area, go to the restroom, come back, and your seat is saved or whatever. Or you can get back in without waiting in line again. And so they just gave us bathroom passes, and we walked through the cordon area and badged out, which is also a big deal because all the badges have an RFID thing where you have to badge in and badge out of certain areas. And so, like, if we didn't get that pass and badged out, when we tried to go in there, we couldn't have played the card of like, oh, we left to go to the bathroom. It would have badged red instead of green. And so that was like a huge deal. Um, and so basically all we had to do was like wait for a while, get some other stuff done, go back in, chill out, and then leave again, and then come back for Marvel. Just keep getting these bathroom passes. And so we like found a way to like go to the Hall H experience, do all this stuff, and like we didn't have to wait in line whatsoever. So we got to see like the tail end of the Apple TV panel, and we got to see the Marvel panel, which was like super cool. All right, I need sponge. Yeah, it's a good slang term. One of my favorites. So what I want to do for these like fans, these turbo fans, is I want to sponge the color onto the outside because these are kind of stolen from a. Speaking of Death Guard, these are stolen from a Death Guard bloat drone. Self-closing tweezers. Super great tool to have in this hobby. Saves your fingers. But if you didn't see the podcast, we also did a really in-depth show and tell of all my cool stuff that I got while I was at Comic-Con. Yeah, so you can see on the model, this is like really, really textured. I really want to be able to do some other painting techniques to bring that texture out. And also this just looks really weathered because you got these turbo fans just going crazy. All the dust and grit and everything from the road, so the paint would probably be pretty chipped up. Just gotta be careful because I do want this to be good and dry for those other panels. I don't want to stick my finger on it. Probably also do a little bit of this on the I don't know what that would be, like the skid plate, middle pan, something. No. I think that was on a different day. So um basically the way that it works is people will get in the line for Hall H, and um they typically will either do like big groups of friends, or there's a lot of these like kind of like a Facebook group or like a Discord group. There's a ton of them that are like line groups. So you have these people that are like sitting in line and saving seats, and you kind of pull shift. uh, and people will like go in and go out and be able to like take breaks and get food, go to the bathroom, maybe do some shopping, stuff like that while you wait. Because Hall H is first come, first serve. So there were people waiting out there like Tuesday, right after they got it set up, like Tuesday evening. And then Wednesday was preview night, so nothing even opened until that evening, and you had to have a special badge that you buy to go in for preview night. And people were waiting in line. And then it actually opens on Thursday. So I think the Spaceballs panel was either like kind of early in the day on Saturday, or it was on Friday. And all this craziness didn't even happen until like after 2 p.m. It was like 2:30, so I think the mega huge Apple TV, which was 2 hours, had just started when we rolled through there. Because our bathroom pass said 2 to 4 for the Apple TV panel. I got to go to some other panels that were pretty neat, some smaller ones. I went to a panel for Absolute Batman. Well, actually, I take that back. It was like the entire Absolute line. So they had like the head people for Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, like all that kind of stuff. That was mostly for my friends. I don't actually collect comics. I was just kind of going for the vibes, and we sat through that panel, which is pretty cool. Oh, sorry, you can't even see what I'm doing. This is kind of an awkward thing to hold. And the other panel we went to was Dispatch, the video game, where they had all the voice actors for Dispatch talking about it, and that was really fun. Really fun little. They kept it really light. It was very jokey, a lot of fun. I really wanted to go to the Dungeon Crawler Carl panel, but the other thing that they do for a lot of these panels and Q&As and like autograph signings is they make it part of the exclusives portal. And what that is when you buy your badges, you get a certain number of these credits for each day that you have a badge. So I had a ticket for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I had like 12 credits per day. And there's a whole bunch of things that you can put your credits towards to like kind of put your hat in a raffle to get a spot. And so I put all my credits in that for that panel and for this exclusive merch booth that had a lot of San Diego, a lot of like the little toys and different exclusives. And unfortunately, I think there's like something close to like 250,000 people that go through the con throughout the 4 day weekend. So we didn't win like any of the spots, unfortunately.
That's almost Monday right there. Next, I got music filled with good vibes and fun just to keep us grooving. The Georgia Satellites first.
Let's see. I'm not super knowledgeable of the names of all of the people on Critical Role. I know that um for sure two of them were there. Laura Bailey and oh man, I can see his face, but I don't remember his name. He's like the voice of Gronk on uh Vox Machina. He's been in like a ton of stuff. He's a pretty everywhere voice actor. He was there. Maybe some of the other ones were on Critical Role at some point. I never watched Critical Role. I only watched the animated shows they put out on Amazon. So I'm a very like casual fan. But it was cool. They had unfortunately two of the people, how do you say his YouTube handle? Jacksepticeye was like remote, and Charlie Moist Critical was remote. And they did this fun thing where they had this guy in costume that was sort of like mimicking what Charlie was saying and like being a stand-in for him, which was pretty funny for his character. Keep forgetting that this thing is so long. I gotta like change how I hold it. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Initially, what I was gonna do with the orc stuff was a continuation of this orc army that I made to proxy for Grey Knights. And all of those, they were all like goblins in power armor, and it was all Gundam themed. And so when I got Wazdakka when he came out a couple months ago, is I was like, how do I like make this kind of like Gundam themed? And in the show, there's this like two-person motorcycle that is like a hover bike, and it has these like huge fans that it lifted up. And I forget what it's called. I think it was in like a handful of episodes, and there's like an official model kit. But I was like that. I think it's called like a DOP or something. I forget the name. But it's there. It's kind of like a little funny vehicle that is within the Gundam franchise. And so I was like, oh, how do I make that? And then kind of like happy accidents, I had a bloat drone print that I made for my Death Guard, and it unfortunately like fell off of a shelf and shattered. And so these are the two fans, the two wing fans for the bloat drone, and the main body was like completely shattered because it was like a shell, it was like a hollow 3D print shell. And so I was like, oh, I have these. And so I used some plastic art tube, some I guess you could say it's more like bar stock. It's not hollow. And then I made some excess tubes, like these little ribbed tubes. I made and heated so I could bend them really easy, like this one. And I made these little brackets so that it would fit. And then I had this buzz saw in my bits box from I don't know what, but I was like, yeah, there'd probably be a buzz saw in there somewhere because it's orcs. Uh, Otherwise, I think it's fully stock. Wazdakka is like such a cool model. and I've got the little like explosion plume for his rocket engine back here, and I had to modify this a little bit because it's actually part of his base. And since he's going to be like floating above the base rather than connected doing a wheelie, I had to snip part of that off and then kind of like refuse it to look correct. And then I've got his base over here, so he'll be pinned to that base floating. Bluer Ocean, thanks for following. Oh, you saw the. Oh, so you saw that art. Yeah, yeah. So you kind of know what I'm talking about. So what I ended up deciding, all of that to say, what I ended up deciding was that I kind of want to lean more towards pop culture references in general for the actual Orcs army, and then I can kind of mix and match the collections where I need to. Like, I don't need to make knobs and mega armor because I have like Terminators from the Gundam Gretchen, so I can just pull those. Like if I need like in a pinch, maybe if I need like a squad of knobs or something, I can pull a squad from the Gundam Gretchen, things like that. Maybe some characters, and while we wait for that paint to kind of set up a little bit more, in general, I'll pull out some stuff. So what we were working on stream the past couple of streams was my Gazgul proxy, which was this guy. And you can see he's riding Mecha Godzilla. And so we were working on this guy. I got him finished up right before Comic-Con. So the last little details, he was like kind of 90% complete on our last stream. And so I just went in and I did like some really final little things like chipping up our decals and finishing up his face and doing his base on my own time. And I have really high quality pictures up on my Instagram of him. You can check those out. We've got the Stampa, which I finished, and he's just so big. I don't ever really do huge models on stream just because there's no way to keep it on camera. But I've got him right here, and so I finished him up, painted him entirely on my own time, and you can kind of see the turtle head and the turtle shell. So this is supposed to be the turtle. So he's supposed to be Gamera, the turtle kaiju from the. I guess he's kind of like a spin-off or like a crossover for the Godzilla franchise, and this was a lot of fun. I really like how I really like how this belly plate came out. We wanted to do like a heated metal sort of thing with some freehand. You can see it says Gamera right there. A lot of fun. Push it down. And another thing that we did was our Gorkanaut. Let's see if can I zoom out anymore? A little bit. And the Gorkanaut is supposed to be a reference to a cartoon from when I was younger called Megas XLR. I don't know if y'all remember that. Depending on your age, you may or may not. So I did some work on this to customize him where it's mostly stock. The shoulder pads are very kind of a specific shape. Those are 3D printed. This whole like cowl on the top, this is all just plasticard that I've orked up and built out. And then I created the sort of like 50s muscle car fins that are on Megas's backpack. I made those in 3D Builder and printed them out. The armor is just plasticard. And the head, which in the cartoon, the head is the Barracuda. I think it was, did Pontiac make the Barracuda? I forget who made it, but like in the show, it's a CUDA, And so I couldn't find one, so I found like the next closest thing, which was a charger. And I orked it out. Just kind of did some digital kit bashing and sculpting on it. So it sits in there. And painted this mostly on my own time. So there's another reference. And then I've got a handful of other things, like one of this guy. He's going to be one of my mechs. So this is Trapjaw from He-Man. And then I've got what's his? I think it's Zodgrod, who's the Runtherd, like the named character Runtherd, and he's Rick from Rick and Morty. A lot of work in progress type stuff. We painted my other mech on stream. I like this model. He's very, very simple, but he has so much character. I really love this model. The like fat Gretchen mech. Super fun little guy. He's got his little box cutter. Plymouth, that's what I'm thinking. Plymouth Mythicuda, yeah. Got some other ones that I'm still like kind of in the process of doing. Like I printed out a ton of Killicans, and these are Gundam themed, so there'll be another Gundam reference. So I have some that are Xeon themed with the goof, and I've got some that are Federation themed with the Easy 8. And these are just digitally kit bashed with Killican parts. Mech. Which mech? The Goblin or the Trapjaw? So they're both printed. These guys. This isn't even a Warhammer guy. He's just a dude. This one, Trapjaw. There's a creator on My Mini Factory named Mr. Modulork. Like Modulork. Mr. Modulork. He makes a ton of orc stuff that runs the gamut. A lot of pop culture reference in his. So he makes like the Gundam Gorkanaut. There's like RoboCop, Star Wars, He-Man, some horror movies. Like he's got like a Jason, he's got an Ash from the Evil Dead. They're all orcs. It's super fun. Yeah, check them out on My Mini Factory. Ironically, no, there isn't a Morty Gretchen. The Gretchen that I'm using go with these guys from Puppets War, and you can see he's got like a little RC controller. So this is one of the Runtherds, and then all of the Gretchen are little robots. I've got them right here. They're like double-sided taped to a project board because there's 40 of them, and you can see that they're like little robots with Zaku heads. And so the Runtherds are like controlling them with this little RC controller. Thanks for the follow. Yeah, he's got a ton of cool stuff. I've been kind of going back and forth between Mr. Modulork and Puppets War for the reference stuff. My Ludas slash these can pull a lot of duty. They can be Ludas, they can be Tank Bustas, they can also be Flash Gits. They are the Marines from Aliens. So you can see they have the smart guns, and they're wearing like orcified marine gear. I keep wanting to say UNSC, but that's not what that is. Yeah, they're the Marines from Aliens, and they're super fun. So I've got 10 of those. I don't know if I'm going to run Ludas or Flash Kits. I'm kind of in a weird limbo zone where Codex is supposed to come out in August, like mid August. Um, and so I'm like, oh, what do I like? What do I build? What do I get ready? So I'm trying to sort of like get stuff that I know that I might need. Colonial Marines, that's what it is. Yes, Colonial Marines. They also have a lot of references. Like there's an A Team van with like the A Team orcs. There's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles van with like ninja orcs. There's Burna Boys, which are the Ghostbusters, and they also have a vehicle that is the um, Ecto One vehicle that's all worked out. They have stuff that's like Back to the Future with the DeLorean. They have Batman with the Batmobile. There's a bunch. They have some really cool stuff. Don't need run herds now. They changed the data sheet where it's like optional because right now they're like mandatory part of the unit. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I kind of no matter what, I'm gonna run the Stampa, um, just because it's so cool, and even if it's just like the whole list is just like a ton of boys and the Stampa, I want to do that. But I would also like to run Killicans and like maybe a DACA rig. I found a really cool conversion set of parts for the DACA rig that makes it like a little chompy dinosaur looking thing, which is fun. I don't really know that it's a pop culture reference, but I don't know, maybe if I paint it like Jurassic Park or something, I can make it one. I think that could be a fun color scheme, like the man, what are the vehicles they use? Does anybody know the deep cut reference to what's the I think it's like a Jeep Grand Cherokee or something in the first Jurassic Park that has that very iconic green and yellow and tiger stripe paint job. That could probably look pretty cool. And then at some point I'll have to do some Mad Max as well. Like I feel like that's warranted. Yes, I did see the boys work or not worksheet data sheet. I've seen the new boys data sheet. As far as special weapons go, I don't know that I'll run special weapons because I don't think there's enough of them to overcome the bad math on orc shooting. And since you're mostly wanting the mega blob squads to be paired with like Gaz and a Pain Boy, you want the Choppas. I think if the numbers were a little bit different, like if it was 2 per 10, so uh, instead of 1 per 10, it would work out a lot better. Yeah, Mr. Modular makes an Ed 209, but I've got a plastic one somewhere. I don't know what I did with it. It might be in one of my little project boxes over here, but like I got one from the box set and I put it together. Yeah. So the cool thing is that yes, the boys come with a Shuda and a Choppa at the same time, and the Shudas have the lethal hits against non-monster vehicles, which is useful. I just mean as far as like the like big Shudas and Burnas and stuff. I just don't think the numbers support taking them and giving up your Choppas. Okay, let's start doing some. I guess technically this is glazing on our other plates. We're still gonna like chip these up and scratch them, but these are gonna be a little less weathered than the turbofans. Overall, I'm very excited for the Orc Codex. I was kind of hoping the Codex would come out a little bit sooner, so that I could maybe get one event playing Orcs, because I'm playing Orcs for Challengers Cup, which is in September. So maybe there'll be like an RTT or something I can go to. I have a GT August 8th and 9th up in Salt Lake City, but I don't think I'll be able to get the Orcs army like stood up for that event. Be really careful that I don't touch this wet paint while I'm glazing this in. Yeah. I'm overall very positive about 11th edition right now too. Um, I think we're definitely in kind of like a beta test state for the edition, but I think the addition of detachment costs and the detachments having the dispositions is a really nice little balance lever that the devs have access to now. For example, I didn't know that Warpbane Task Force got changed, and so I was like, yeah, I'll go play some Grey Knights for a little bit, and I was like, oh, they changed it to Taken Hold. Gonna have to like figure out if I need to change anything. I've also been playing some Custodes with my new Custodes army. That's been pretty fun. Um, so I don't know, maybe I take Custodes to that Utah tournament. I'm not worried too much about getting like a deep gradient on these plates because we're gonna do some I haven't figured out if I want to do freehand or if I want to do decals, but there is going to be iconography on these plates. So I just need kind of a rudimentary gradient of light to dark to kind of make them pop. So I'm not going to sit here and wet blend these for 7 hours. Just kind of lock it in. Yeah, I'm not like a huge gamer, but I will fill my time with some video games. Kind of in like a in between slump for games right now because a lot of the games that I have played are either like waiting for more content or um, waiting for a sequel or something. So I'm sort of returning to some classics. Like I've been playing a lot of MechWarrior 5. Just really, really modded MechWarrior 5 just to kill time. Waiting for the big expansion to Monster Hunter. All right, let's get some bold Pyro Red. Kind of want to push this towards the edges. And some of the other stuff on my radar is like not going to come out for a little while. They just announced a new Gundam game, which I'm pretty stoked for. Speaking of, Bandai had a mega Gundam booth at San Diego Comic-Con, which is really fun to see. It was very cool. I need to go on my phone and post some of the pictures and videos I took on Instagram. It was really neat. I got to buy some exclusive stuff. I'm a little sad that so they had their miniatures game, a bunch of stuff like in the display cases, but they weren't doing any like demos or pre-sales, which was kind of sad. And then I learned from the Bandai Facebook that next week at Gen Con, they are going to be demoing and doing pre-sale stuff for Gundam Assemble. It's like, dang it. I've already got a ton of stuff pre-ordered, but you know, being able to get it early would have been super cool. Those miniatures are really, really cool. Yeah, totally agree with you, Zinwu, for sure. It's funny, I haven't even like looked at Space Marines, even though that's like my biggest collection, my big Ultramarines collection. I'm sure I'll go back to them at some point. Um, I was really stoked to like hold myself to like a new army, new edition, new army. And originally, I was going to do Death Watch because I've never done a Death Watch army. and I got so much stuff. Like preparation bought a ton of stuff for Deathwatch, and then I was like hoarding it up in a project box, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this for my new army, and I was already in the middle of doing this new Grey Knights army, the Gundam Gretchen, and I just had so much fun making that army and painting that stuff that I was like, I think I'm just gonna do orcs. I'm gonna get all this new orc stuff, all these new orc models, and I haven't done orcs since I think like 2016, 2017. I'll take that back. 2018. And I just always have so much fun painting orcs because I love doing weathering and stuff. And so I think orcs are kind of my painting spirit animal. And the fact that orcs are like a very not serious army, I get to do a lot of fun stuff, like all this pop culture reference stuff, and it all just kind of like works. Okay. All right. I think that's good for an hour. Red is looking
Coming up next,
sick.
I got a decade for you, the 90s. A little snapshot of the music of the era. Shenandoah on first.
I'm gonna grab some mahogany. There's a couple of pretty big, like rust gouges in our turbofans that I want to kind of bring some dimension to. So I'm gonna start off by painting in some of this. So like right here. I want to paint this in here as sort of a wash to these like really deep gouges. And then when we go in and paint in our superficial paint chipping, it'll pop those more. One thing that I talk about a lot when I'm painting on stream is that weathering looks best when it's very meticulous and planned out. You can get away with being kind of sloppy with it sometimes, but for these armies like orcs and Death Guard being the two predominant ones, they look so much better when you're accentuating the details that are already there and being very meticulous about your weathering. You can see as that dries, like just that paint on the turbofans adds a lot. And then we'll go in and we'll kind of go around the edges with some paint chipping and darken those areas a little bit and brighten some other areas, and it'll make them look more 3D. Really pops and adds more detail. Oh yeah, speaking of the Gundam Gretchen, when I was at the Gundam booth, they have these little capsule machines. with a bunch of different prizes, and you buy tokens to put in the machines. And so I got these two little guys. Super fun. So I was like, I could paint these. I could fully paint them and kind of chip them out and everything. And these could be like characters in the uh, power armored Gundam Gretchen army. Oh, that would be good. I'd have to make new ones. I printed out, I think, 18 kilocans when I was still kind of in the mode where I was going to make them a continuation all Gundam reference. So I showed them a little bit earlier, but you may not have seen them. So this is kind of what they look like right now. We got a whole bunch of those. So they're a Gundam reference. That's pop culture reference. So. But yeah, I could probably do the same thing if I wanted to have some be Gundam reference and others be the soda cans. I just basically take the exact same 3D kit bash, and instead of a Gundam head as the torso, I can make like a soda can. Yeah, I mean, I feel you. I am definitely of the opinion that Wazdakka is like the coolest orc model that GW's ever made. And so changing his chopper into a hover bike was like it's a choice. And like I get if it's not for everybody. Pretty simple way to make mine like one of a kind though, which I like. All right. I don't really want to mess with this paint anymore, so let's shift gears a little bit and work on the torso. I've got torso in a subassembly, and I think this will be a good chance to show off the orc metal workup. We can do real quick. So the first thing is going to be I'm going to grab the same primer that I use for just about everything, which is red oxide, and you can just hand paint with this fine. So we're going to block out the metallic stuff with this. Because you can do this without an airbrush. It just takes longer. You can really see it on the Gazgul proxy that we did. Let's see. Looks like he's got kind of like a little leather seal kind of sleeve looking thing at the end. Try to make that our delineation. And this is called red oxide, and there's also a paint called red oxide, but they're two different shades. And so I'm just going to use the primer because that's what I use for the bike and everything else. I don't want it to be changed. we're talking about the Instagram a little bit. If you haven't already, be sure to follow the channel's Instagram. I put a lot of stuff up there between streams. Here in the next few days, I'm going to start working on the display table for Challengers Cup. And with that being like a gigantic table, obviously won't be able to do any of that stuff on stream. So you'll definitely want to follow the progress over on Instagram. And that's also where I post other work in progress pictures and like finished pictures of all the stuff that we paint on stream. Okay, I'm gonna paint that shoulder pad. So the only other thing is gonna be the handle. Just gonna try to be careful not to paint on his little fingies. I might have to repaint those anyways, but I'm gonna try my best. Thin this primer down quite a bit to hand paint with it. It's a little thicker than the rest of the Pro Crow line. So these coats are going to be really thin and going to see through. That's fine. Okay, let that dry up. Oh, that is a good question. I don't know. I might. If there's nothing else going on, I might. The last time I went, it was pretty fun. We had a good time. This is part of the fan. If it's at the same venue, the venue is tight. It was like I think like 4 or 5 blocks from a little casino that was over there. So last time when we all got like checked into our rooms, we just like walked over to the casino and had like a pretty dope steak dinner and played some blackjack and stuff. Kind of depends. The thing I don't like about the GW Opens is the pod system and that it's 9 games. Like 9 is just it's a lot. It's so much.
Coming next, taking us back to the early 2000s, starting with Alan Jackson.
It's not a super big deal because like I can just drop, but I don't really like dropping from tournaments if I can avoid it. And 9 games just kind of burns me out. Like I feel like for me 6 is like the most I ever really want to do, and preferably 5. I prefer 5-round GTs. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to catch up on YouTube comments as well. Uh, I don't know. To be honest, I think I only saw the new bikes like one time, because we have no idea when they're coming out. So I guess I'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Depends on how time consuming it would be. Everything I do is sort of an analysis of time efficiency to have stuff look really cool, but also be able to get it done in time to go to events. So if I need to paint like 6 to 12 bikes or more bikes, even depending on what it calls for, if it's gonna take me, I don't know, 2 hours or 3 hours to convert a squad, that's probably just a little bit too much time. It all depends on how easy I can make it. If it's the cool thing about this is that basically the wheels just slot in between the forks and slot into the drivetrain back here. And I already had these pieces from a broken model, so I didn't have to print them out. And the plastic card frame that I had to make was really easy to make, so it didn't take very long. But yeah, like I said, if it takes a really long time to convert the regular bikes, then I probably just won't. I also kind of like the idea that like Wazdakka knows how to do that. Like he knows how to make his bike work, but he like doesn't want the other guys to do it because his is like really cool, and he doesn't want anybody to steal his thunder. That seems very orc like. So I don't know. I'd probably just keep him unique. First coat's almost dry. I haven't really thought about my event schedule. Let me see. I can check the calendar real quick. Let's see. There's something in Denver. January. That's the only thing that's on our calendar for right now. We see if Green Banner is doing anything in January. Events. Let's see. I don't think they've posted any of their 2027 stuff yet, so I'd have to wait for that to cycle back around. All right, let's do another just like quick thin coat of our red oxide primer. I think if maybe if I prepared a little bit more, I could have like masked all this off and airbrushed this, which would have been significantly faster. But it is nice to see that some of the stuff that I do doesn't require an airbrush. I know that not everybody has one or wants to get one. I'll always recommend that you should. Getting an airbrush is definitely like the most primo tool to have in your arsenal. Okay, I don't see any more thin spot. I'm trying to turn these claws around and see, like, getting in between them is a little tricky. Okay, I think we're good. Back in front of the fan you go. So as a next step, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab some liquid pigments from AK and we're gonna paint those on. So this is what it looks like after the primer and when it's airbrushed. So you can see it has this very, very like ultra matte, dusty patina. And that's how those rust pigments dry. And so we'll paint those onto the claw. And when those are dry, we'll do like a heavy dry brush of metallics over that. And that's what gets us the air quotes orc metal that I'm doing for all our stuff. You can see on our Ultra War Boss how that looks, where we've got that very like rusty brown patinaed metal with all the edges cleanly dry brushed. And then you can see on his claw kind of how that's going to look. The good thing is that these dry really fast. You can also see it like on his boot, his armored knee pad and boot, how that's going to look. And the trick is, as we're dry brushing this, just try not to get it everywhere. Our fan in turbo mode. See if we can try it faster. Is anybody in the chat a wrestling fan? I got to meet somebody really cool at Comic-Con. They've already seen it. I'm wearing his shirt. What else do we need? They are thinner. It's almost dry. We want this paint to be bone dry because these pigments are an enamel product and they do not mix with water. So it can be really nasty if you try to put these over top of wet paint. The bonus to that is that even if the paint isn't like totally cured, like if it's just dry to the touch, the enamels aren't going to reactivate it or anything. It's not going to mess with it. So you can work pretty fast. Just the downside is you do need to have it like dry to the touch. So I would try to like mask it off or have a little thing I'll show you. Have one. I guess this can work. So a lot of times if you buy stuff, you can see like I've got this little resin model, these little jeweler's bags. hang on to these, or you can probably get them like hella cheap on Amazon or something. These are great because you can do all sorts of really fun stuff with them. Oh, if you, yeah, yeah. So I got to meet Sergeant Slaughter at Comic Con and get his autograph. It was very cool. I don't have I got like a little thing signed by him that is a still from the GI Joe movie, and I have this little guy that I keep on my desk now. One of the things he got was his personalized challenge coin. Yeah, so like, got to take some pictures. He put me in the Cobra Clutch, which is cool. Got to take some pictures. Got his autograph. He was really cool. Yeah, so these little jewelry bags are really cool, and you can use them for all sorts of stuff. Like for example, if you have like a power sword or some other thing, you can do is like cut a little hole like this, and then I'll just use this guy as an example. Let's say like we wanted to do like airbrush like a firing effect on the barrel. What we can do is we can cut our little jeweler's bag and kind of use it as a mask. So you can do something like this where now the only exposed thing is what you want to paint, and then we take some like masking tape and tie that up or whatever. This guy's a little small, but these come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. So what I would normally do is I would just have like the only thing poking through the jeweler's bag be his claw, and we could have airbrushed all that. Be able to speed dry this last little bit with the airbrush here. See a little problem, which is good that we caught it now. He's got this little detail right here with these holes, and you can see the paint is dried like a little thick in there. So before we move on, I want to go in with our little airbrush cleaning spike. Very gently go in there, clean those out. Because if that paint dried all the way and got hard, then it would block off those little details. Some little deep recesses in there. All right, I think we're good. So we want to switch brushes. These enamels can be pretty hard on your brushes. So I like to use little cheapo brushes, or if you've got some that are kind of cached, you can use those, like sacrificial. We don't want to get this stuff on our nice painting brushes. So we've got our thinner and our two different types of rust. I like to kind of mix and match these just because it gives some different finishes. This dark crusted rust kind of works exactly like the name implies. It'll dry with kind of a almost pinkish orange patina. It's nice and dark. We're just going to paint this on kind of heavy, almost like a wash. We don't want it flowing all over the place, like down his arm or whatever. So just do small sections at a time. And then because there's no water in this, it should evaporate and dry a lot faster. And this also looks very different when it's wet compared to when it's dry. So you want to make sure that when you're using these, you let it dry completely before deciding if you're going to do any more. Okay. And we'll go to our brighter ochre rust. And this dries much brighter, vibrant orange color. Which you can already see. And this is really intense, so I want to spread this out. I'll get a little bit of our thinner in our brush and just move it around.
That's Craig Morgan getting it just right. Next up, I got some songs with kind of a cool vibe, starting with the Wantin' Bishops.
Use the capillary action of our brush to like wick away our excess and move it around somewhere else. So you can see it's like setting like a wash, but we don't want it to be flowing all over the place. Very much controlling it. For example, on his hands, I definitely don't want it flowing down and like getting between his fingers and that kind of thing. So now that we're done, I'm just going to use some of our thinner to kind of clean this brush out a little bit. So this stuff is not water soluble, so dipping it in our water cup isn't going to do anything. All right, so we're done with that, and we'll wait for that to dry. Kind of see it already, but we wait for that to dry totally. Put it back in front of the fan. And so we're waiting, we can work on our bike a little bit, and I'll get out our little weathering pencil here. And I need sharpened slightly, so I'm just gonna get my hobby knife. So I'm gonna go around, and what I want to do is just a little quick dip in the water, and then get that excess water off on our piece of paper towel. And I want to come around and find places where I can go in, kind of like these little notches here. I don't want to press too hard. Just want to line some of these areas. It's going to help accentuate our rust effects. Every so often, I'm going to kind of dip in the water again. Just very gently roll that excess water off. And so this is another thing you can do. I like to kind of go around these edges. I love this little weathering pencil. They have some different colors, and you can do a lot of really cool things. So like I want to come in, and this is a good color to match our red paint. So I can also come in on this edge and do some rough on the edges, and it creates that very kind of rough, almost chipped paint look. And the only downside is that we do need to do a layer of varnish to kind of lock this in, or it can rub right off the model. But we're gonna really do that anyways. Very lightly, kind of do like a, what is that thing we all learned how to do in like kindergarten, where you do like a pencil etching over some stuff? Do that to kind of catch these raised textures. Help drive home that like chipped red paint look. Just going to extend out that kind of red oxide color that we can't really do in any other way. Let's get a little bit of water, kind of activate that a little bit better. There we go. We want to just barely be touching this and let it transfer on its own. We don't want to press too hard, because that's how you end up scratching your paint. I will probably bring. Right now I'm kind of in between either Granites or Custodians. I want to get a game or two in with the Granites in the 11th edition format. See how they play. Because the problems they had before are still, it's kind of the same problems they still have, which is all of their shooting tops out at strength 10. You can bring like a Razorback or a Land Raider for las cannons, but those are really cost ineffective. And so the problem the Grey Knights was having is that there were some armies that you just kind of really couldn't do anything to. And so I'm wondering if maybe with the new edition and some balance changes, like some of the big boogeymen have been toned down. And then they got some nerfs and some buffs. Like the change to Overwatch is, I'd say, sort of a slight nerf. Because I think anybody who plays the game and has self awareness knew that the Castellan Crow and Purifier Brick that could just fucking kill God even in Overwatch was a little too strong because of the rerolls. So now you can't reroll the hit roll in Overwatch, so that tones that down a little bit. And I'm mostly just kind of hoping that defilers aren't as prevalent, but I don't really know. And then on the other hand, I have the Custodies ready to go. But they kind of have similar problems. You can bring the Caladius tank for some high power shooting, but it's very feast or famine, like into things like defilers, because it's like if you hit with your Caladius tank and they don't make their invul saves, you can do some big boy damage. Unfortunately, I think the math is that they'll make like maybe half, and sometimes they'll spike their invul saves, and you're just like, I just exposed my Caladius tank and did no damage to the Defiler, and then you lose your Caladius tank. Knights, yeah, Knights are one of the ones that are kind of an issue with their toughness 11. Because like our big unit is the Nemesis Dread Knight, and its big gun is strength 10. And so you have to leverage their melee ability, which is, it's tricky because like you really want to use Gate of Infinity, so you're like picking up and dropping down all over the place to catch angles and like do your primary and secondary stuff. The problem with that is you're not really doing a whole lot of charges, so you're having to try to leverage where you can stage a Dread Knight somewhere where you can walk out and then charge, but that's obviously very telegraphed, and so people can be like, okay, well, I'm going to move my Knight to like toe touch this terrain where I can shoot out and do my turn, but it's a really hard charge for your guy to like walk around the building and try to charge me. So it's almost like the same problem where you're trying to roll like an 8 or 9 inch charge. Renegade, yeah. So sometimes like 40k, I think one of the reasons 40k actually is so popular is because it has such a depth of rules and it has kind of a high skill ceiling. So if you're just trying to get into it, like watching two people play the game and they're just kind of going through their routine at the table, can be hard to pick up why they're doing things or how stuff works. So I feel you. Usually I'm not somebody who likes to really reward Games Workshop, but they do have good ideas from time to time. And if you're new, I think the Warhammer Academy website is actually like a really, really good resource to get into the hobby and get started and learn the game. So what I suggest is to make an account, which is free. And as far as I know, Warhammer Academy is also free. And you need to have a My Warhammer account to use the app to get all the rules for free and make your army lists. So it's worth doing that. And then Warhammer Academy is probably a really, if you're trying to get into the game, you don't know how to play, you're trying to get all the basics, it actually is a really cool little thing they made. And so I'd say check that out and just go through the I don't know, I think they're called like quests or paths, where it'll be like, oh, if you, I don't know what army you play, but let's just say you play Ultramarines. It's like the path of the Ultramarines is, it'll teach you some lore about the Ultramarines, and it has all these bite-sized videos of like, here's how to paint blue armor, and here's how to like paint your Stern Guard veterans and that kind of thing. And so like it has painting guides that are really easy to follow, they're super basic. And then it has like the path of, I think it's literally the path of the gamer, which is kind of lame, but and it teaches you in bite-sized chunks in order, like how to play the game, how to play 11th edition, how to play Warhammer. Like this is a video on how movement works, and this is a video on how the charge phase works and all that. So I'd say go check that out. It's really pretty cool. Like, still in the hot garbage phase, but our reds are looking pretty cool. Let's check our boy here. Yeah. I see a few places that are still like a little shiny, which means that some of that like medium, the enamel medium thinner is still like a little wet. That needs to be totally dry, but you can see how our rust is drying now. So we're getting that patina, and you can kind of see as I turn it, the light is catching those shiny spots. Um, really, really vibrant rusty patina on there. Uh, so I mean, like the best advice I can give for like getting into the game is if you think 40k is really cool and you really think one of the factions is super cool, then you can't really go wrong getting like a I think they're called combat patrols, like the get started boxes. Um, just get like a combat patrol and like start painting it up. And um, if you don't have a like a close knit friend group that's already invested in Warhammer, one of the things you can do is look around your area for game stores, and then like you can see if they have a website or call down and be like, "Hey, do you guys do a Warhammer night? If so, like how do I sign up? Like how do I get in with the group?" Typically, those places have Discords or a Facebook group that you can get in and start chatting with people. Because it is like it's very very popular. It's all over the country. It's all over the world. So if the game store has tables where people play weekly, you can probably get in there. Um, there is a YouTube channel called Tactical Tortoise, and that guy Trevi, his whole thing is kind of teaching people how to get into the game, covering tournaments, doing content about playing the game, rules, all that kind of stuff. And he runs a very, very, very big Discord where people play 40k on a simulator called Tabletop Simulator. Um, you have to pay like $20 to get the program, and then everything else is free. So you can play full games of 40k exactly the way that you would on a table with measuring and virtual dice and like all that stuff. And it's a way that people practice. It's a way that people try out units before buying them, that kind of stuff. And that's a good resource to get into. Um, the one thing I would caution about the TTS Discord is it's a good community. Like overall, it's a good community. However, there are a fair number of people who only interact with 40k through TTS. Like they don't paint, they don't actually play 40k, they don't like go out and be sociable and go to events. And their attitude, while not necessarily bad, they do treat it like a video game, which can create bad habits and it can be kind of socially awkward and frustrating. And it is a little bit of a minefield when it comes to that. So like there is like a 4-letter word, which is like air quotes TTS randos. Um, so while I will say that they do have kind of a like an A minus overall community, which is good, you do have to be careful. So like I can't in good conscience send you over there without that little disclaimer. But if you're like, I want to try to play the game and like maybe I want to play Necrons without buying $200 worth of Necrons, um, that is a good community to get started. You just have to be aware that you might run into a few bad apples and just kind of like prepare yourself for that. I'm gonna try to dry this out quick fast because I would like to finish this workup before we end the stream. But yeah, I definitely recommend Warhammer Academy. Um, And then if you want to try out the game without buying into it first, there's the TTS stuff. Right, so we've painted our base coat, we've applied our liquid pigments. Then just for Renegade, because he's super new, we're going to do a technique called dry brushing, where I've got a little bit of paint and I'm using a very fluffy brush. What you do is you get some paint on there and then rub most of it off. And then we're just going to very gently swish the paintbrush over top of our spot that we want to paint. So we're kind of rubbing dry-ish pigment onto the model, hence the technique dry brushing. And it's just going to catch like the raised surfaces and edges and leave our rusty pigment down in the recesses and leave most of that patina rather than covering it up completely. And so we're starting off with this this paint. It's called magnesium. It's kind of like a dirty, darkish steel color. And so I just want to do a little bit of this, and then we're going to go back with a brighter, more shiny metal. And it's going to give us that like Mad Max patina steel color. Looks really cool. Well, I definitely know that feeling. I think everybody, when they start Warhammer, goes through that, or when they start painting for the first time. And I'll give you a little piece of advice, and you just got to say this to yourself: paint doesn't hurt your models, unless you really, really, really do something like, Dick Cotton ceiling fan level fuck up. It's impossible for paint to ruin your models. And the reason for that is it's very easy to take your plastic models and a like very general like floor cleaning solution and some hot water and strip the paint right off the plastic. And it doesn't hurt the plastic, and it just pulls the paint right off of it. And so don't get in your own head about your models not looking tight, because everybody has to start somewhere. Everybody has to learn, and the paint can't hurt your models. You can't ruin them. Yeah, I think the depending on what part of the world you're in, the cleaner might have a different name, but there's a really, really non-toxic, non-corrosive like floor cleaner, like all-in-one cleaner called Simple Green. Heck, you can even use Dawn dish soap in a lot of cases, but Simple Green, it's really cheap. You basically just fill up a bowl or a Tupperware with like scalding hot water from the tap. Pour in some Simple Green, follow the instructions. I think it's like 2-to-1. Swirl it up real good, dump your models in there, and then go to bed for the night. And when you come back, you can get an old toothbrush and just swipe the paint right off the models. It just picks it right up off the models. The only time that I've seen that not work is if you use like an exterior really tough primer. So like, I know some people will be like, oh, don't buy stuff from GW, don't buy stuff from Army Painter, just go to Home Depot and get like $2 Krylon. The problem with exterior paint is it is very, very tough. So if you prime your models with that kind of primer, it may not strip it off. So what I suggest is get some primer from like an actual model making company. Games Workshop is a little overpriced for sure, but there's cheaper options like Army Painter, Color Forge, handful of other ones. Like if you do scale models, there's scale model companies all over the place. You can find it on Amazon really cheap. Yeah, don't be afraid of hurting your models. I see that a lot, and it kind of makes me sad because people are like, "Oh, I ruined these models," and I'm like, "Bro, just strip them." It's just like it's so easy. Just strip your models. All right, so now we've got our silver, and again, I'm just going to come in and just very gently rub our brush all over, especially the edges. You can start to see how this is like kind of the magic that makes the whole effect happen. Where now we're getting that like patinaed steel that's like still well used, but it's got the, you know, it's got the oxidation going. Oh, Renegade, thanks for that follow. So what's the army I play? I have like 9 armies, dude. I've been doing Warhammer for like almost 25 years at this point. So I've bought, built, and painted just about every army in the game except for Tyranids and GSC and Harlequins. Those are like the only 3 that I'm like, I don't like these. I'll never do these. My first army was Space Marines. I think that's almost everybody's first army, just because Space Marines are cool. Everybody's like, oh, these are these super soldiers in power armor, pretty cool. But as far as picking your first faction, I would say just whatever speaks to you the most. Whatever which one you're like, this is the cool thing that gets me hyped. Go with that. Because you're going to be spending a lot of time with these models. You got to build them, you got to paint them, you got to play with them, you got to love them. You're getting a little bit of silver on his fingers, but that's okay. You can paint over it. So, I will say that there are some armies that are a little cost prohibitive as first armies. Necrons, kinda up there, not too bad. But I would caution against armies like Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum. That's their old name. So I would caution against Astra Militarum. I would caution against AdMech, Adeptus Mechanicus. And probably Tyranids, because those armies are a little cost, like the way that you have to buy the boxes to do everything is just like it's not done well with the way the Games Workshop does things. Like you end up having to buy like a gazillion models, and it's really cost prohibitive. Yeah, so I mean, like if you're like Space Wolves, Vikings in power armor in space, pretty fucking cool. Just go with them, and they basically use like all the same models as regular Space Marines, so you get to have all the cool Space Marine stuff, and then you get all your unique units and really cool characters. So yeah, just like if that's the thing that gets you hyped, go with them. Clean out our dry brush. We don't want any of that semi-dry goopy paint to dry up in there. Cool. So as we go through more work, I'll probably do some more stuff to these claws and all that. But yeah, that is the basic orc metal workup that I figured out. That's what I do all my orcs with. So now that matches. So when we glue him onto his bike, it's the same. Very cool. And you don't technically need an airbrush to do it, although doing it with an airbrush is much faster. Yeah, you can paint them however you want. That's the other cool thing about 40k. Like a lot of my orcs are not even Games Workshop models. They're from other companies, and I'm painting them however I want to paint them. If you want to play Space Wolves, but you're like, I want my Space Wolves to be pink, it's totally fine. You can do whatever you want. And so as like a before and after. You can see we've got my Turbo Mega Boss guy, and see how all that orc metal looks after some more painting on it and some detail painting, different things like that. And you can see, let's see if we get it to looks a little bit better. See how the skin is going to look. And we'll shine up those claws to make them look more sharp, kind of like this. Yeah, so like that's not even a Games Workshop model, but I'm totally allowed to use it. Okay, so I think that's where we'll end. We got a lot of work done. Red's looking sick. You know, red goes faster. Get some work started on Wazdakka. So when we come back on Friday, we'll be working on him again, and just kind of going through the basic workflow, which is to do all of our big stuff, get our airbrushing done, then start blocking all the individual parts out and working through those. And then after that, we'll go to things like washes and weathering enamels, that kind of thing, and then finally detail work. So we'll do this guy is like our next I only paint him on stream kind of guy. And like I said, make sure to follow the Instagram page because that's where I've got to post stuff in between streams. So all the stuff that I work on with the armies and our big projects that doesn't fit on camera, that's where that goes. Make sure to check that out. So that's a solid stream. Gonna go ahead and get out of here. So let's find somebody to raid. If you're over on YouTube, you should really come over to Twitch. You can see a bunch of other artists. Let's see. Who's painting stuff here on Twitch? This like new raid page is like really dumb. It doesn't show me what I want. There is some people playing TTS, so for you guys that aren't really like playing the game too much and want to see, we can do that. I don't know either of these other streamers. I've never rated them, so I hope they're cool. Let's raid Grotworks. Let's like raid them. Looks like they're a veteran like me. That's cool. So we'll raid them, and they're playing a game, so you get to see how the TTS stuff works. Start this raid up. All right, make sure to opt into this. We'll be back on Friday. I'll see you next time.